Cyrus Hall McCormick was an American inventor and businessman who founded the McCormick Harvesting Machine Company, which later became International Harvesting Company in 1902. Originally from the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia, he and many members of the McCormick family became prominent residents in Chicago. McCormick always claimed credit as the single inventor of the mechanical reaper. He was, however, one of several design engineers who produced working models in the 1830s. His efforts built on more than 2 decades of work by his father, Robert McCormick Jr., with the aid of Joe Anderson, an enslaved African American who was held by the family on their farm. He also successfully developed a modern company with manufacturing, marketing, and a sales force to market his products. Hello, everybody, and you're very welcome back to the channel. So, yes, if you managed to get through Friday's storm intact and you're here, sit and watch us. If you still got electricity, if you've still got Wi-Fi or phone signal, if you're still able to look at this, yeah, well, you came out better than a lot of people. So, yeah, how did you get on? Drop a note in the comments. Was there any damage in the farm? Was there any damage in your house, car, trees down? Let us know how you get on, because, yeah, it was particularly bad, obviously, here in Galway. I know more out along the coast. It was wild. Now, no harm done around my place, thank God. Lots of trees down. Power was out for pretty much the whole day. Wi-Fi and phone signal is still gone. So yeah, it has been a tough time. Woke up yesterday morning to the house covered in a white substance, obviously salt from the sea. Just had completely covered the house, covered the cars, covered the van. So yeah, I had to get washing yesterday to make sure all the salt was taken out. So yeah, drop a note in the comments how you get on. Any harm done on the farm? And indeed, if you're in the Galway area, if you had trouble and if you need a hand with anything, don't be afraid to shout out. I'm more than willing to help out anyone that's kind of stuck. If you're in my area at all, because I know there are plenty of people from Galway watching. If you're in any trouble, you need anything done, you need a hand with anything, give us a shout. But today's video is all about Cyrus Mccormick, the McCormick company that later became the International Harvesting Company, of course. And it's another line in that suite of videos, with international case. It all ties in together, and this McCormick ties into it as well. It kind of goes back further from the International Harvester, and it is going back to the start. So yeah, that's it. We're going to get cracking on that today. Just a quick shout out, if you haven't yet subscribed, I'd really appreciate it if you could. Please leave a comment if you know anything about the McCormick, the history of the McCormick Harvesting Company, McCormick Deering Company. If you have a McCormick tractor, of course, that the name is taken from, please. This video is not about McCormick tractors. It's about Cyrus McCormick itself. I will have a video on the McCormick Tractor Company later down the line, but this video is about Cyrus McCormick himself, the McCormick Harvesting Company, McCormick Deering Company, that later became International Harvester, that later became Case. Case IH, the whole thing all kind of ties in together. So without further ado, we'll get cracking on that. The famous Cyrus McCormick, maybe not too many people might be overly familiar with him, but he is a legend in the farm machinery industry world. One of those early pioneers from the 1800s who paved the way for basically what we have today in regards the harvesting and the things, the reaper, the binder, later, of course, into the combine harvester. His name lives on today, obviously, in the McCormick tractor brand, with the changeovers that we're talking about through the years with International Case and the breakup, later becoming the McCormick brand. And anyone hasn't seen any of those videos, please do check them out. Was he easy enough to research Cyrus McCormick? There's a lot of information out there, but I have to say there is a lot of conflicting information as well. Dates, and I suppose depends on what side of the fence you're looking at it on as to, how much of a prominent person he actually was. Did he steal other people's ideas? Was he an inventor? Which he obviously was. But kind of piggybacked on the tails of, some other people's success and designs, and his influence with the type of family that he was in, kind of gave him a little bit more punch, I suppose. He had a lot of money behind him in those early days of lodging patents and the like in the States, when there was a big rush on to be the number one, to nail down those patents. So what I would say, that if anyone has any other information, if there's something I say that is factually incorrect today, please point it out. Don't be afraid to tell me. Put in the comments. I'm always happy to hear from people who might have a little bit more knowledge and understanding that I have, other than what I've done through my research. And as I said, there is a lot of information out there, but a lot of it is conflicting as well. So I have put together what I think is the best and most accurate that I can come across. So yeah, to everyone that watched our video last week, thank you very much. Everyone who watched the Fendt video, I will have another video out next week on Fendt's top 10 tractors. So that's, my top 10 Fendt tractors. So the top 10 most influential Fendt tractors that I think. So those of you who wanted to see a little bit more of the machinery in the Fendt video, I will have a lot more next week. I will be dealing specifically with the Fendt tractors and individual models, talking a little bit about each model. So yeah, we're going to start off today. We're going to look at Cyrus Mccormick and his early life and career. So Cyrus Mccormick was born on February 15th, 1809 in Raphine in Virginia. He was the eldest of 8 children, born to inventor Robert McCormick Jr. and Mary Ann Polly Hall. As Cyrus' father saw the potential of design for a mechanical reaper, he applied for a patent to claim it as his own invention. He worked for 28 years on a horse-drawn mechanical reaper to harvest grain, but was never able to produce a reliable version. Building on his father's years of development, Cyrus took up the project, aided by Joe Anderson, an enslaved African American who was held on the McCormick plantation. A few machines based on the design of Patrick Bell of Scotland, which had not been patented, were available in the United States in these years. The Bell machine was pushed by horses. The McCormick design was pulled by horses and cut the grain to one side of the team. Cyrus Mccormick held one of his first demonstrations of the mechanical reaping at a nearby village of Steeples Tavern, Virginia in 1831. He claimed to have developed a final version of the reaper in 18 months. The young McCormick was granted a patent on the reaper in June 21st, 1934, 2 years after having been granted a patent for a self-sharpening plough. None was sold, however, because the machine could not handle varying soil types. And of course, as we know, it was Mr. John Deere. That fame was left to Mr. John Deere to develop a plough that actually worked properly. Yeah, so that's just my little green love for today. The McCormick family also worked together in a blacksmith metal smelting business. The Panic of 1839 almost caused the family to go into bankruptcy. When a partner pulled out in 1939, McCormick started doing more public demonstrations of his reaper, but local farmers still thought the machine was unreliable. He did sell one in 1840, but none for 1841. Using the endorsement of his father's first customer for a machine built by McFertrick, Cyrus continually attempted to improve the design. He finally sold 7 reapers in 1842, 29 in 1849, and 50 in 1844. They were all built manually from the farm shop. He received a second patent for reaper improvements in January 31st, 1845. As word spread about the reaper, McCormick noticed orders arriving from further west, where the farms tended to be larger and on flatter land. While he was in Washington, D.C. to get his 1845 patent, he heard about a factory in Brockport in New York, where he contracted to have the machines mass-produced. He also licensed several others across the country to build the reaper, but their quality often proved poor, which hurt the product's reputation. So in 1847, after their father's death, Cyrus and his brother Leander J. McCormick moved to Chicago, where they established a factory to build their own machines. At the time, other cities in the Midwestern United States, such as Cleveland, Ohio, St. Louis, Missouri, Milwaukee, Wisconsin, were more established. Chicago had the best water transportation from the east over the Great Lakes for his raw materials, as well as railroad connections to the west, where most of his customers were likely to be. When McCormick tried to renew his patent in 1848, the US Patent Office noted that a similar machine had already been patented by Obed Hussey a few months earlier. McCormick claimed that he invented the machine in 1831, but the renewal was denied. William Manning of Plainfield, New Jersey, had also received a patent for his reaper in May 1831, but at the time Manning was evidently not defending his patent. McCormick's brother, William Sanderson McCormick, moved to Chicago in 1849 and joined the company to take care of financial affairs. The McCormick Reaper sold well, particularly as a result of savvy and innovative business practices. Their products came onto the market just as the expansion of railroads offered inexpensive, countrywide distribution. The McCormick developed marketing and sales techniques, forming a wide network of salesmen trained to demonstrate the operation of the machines in the field, as well as to get parts quickly, repair machines in the field if necessary during crucial seasons in the farming year. In 1851, McCormick travelled to London to display a reaper at the Crystal Palace exhibition. After his machine successfully harvested a field of green wheat while the Hussey machine had failed, he won a gold medal and was admitted to the Legion of Honour. His celebration was short-lived after he learned that he had lost a court challenge to Hussey's patent. So there was a lot of legal controversies and some successes. Another McCormick Company competitor was John Henry Manning of Rockford, Illinois. After the Manning Reaper beat the McCormick version at the Paris Exposition in 1855, McCormick filed a lawsuit against Manning for patent infringement. McCormick demanded that Manning stop producing Reapers and pay McCormick $400,000. The trial, originally scheduled for Chicago in September 1855, featured prominent lawyers on both sides. McCormick hired the former U.S. Attorney General Reverdy Johnson and the New York patent attorney Edward Nicol Dickerson. Manning hired George Harding and Edwin Staunton. Because the trial was set to take place in Illinois, Harding hired the local Illinois lawyer, none other than Abraham Lincoln. Manning finally won the case on appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. In 1856, McCormick's factory was producing more than 4,000 Reapers each year, mostly sold in the Midwest and West. In 1861, however, Hussey's patent was extended, but McCormick's was not. McCormick's outspoken opposition to Lincoln and the anti-slavery Republican Party may not have helped his cause. McCormick decided to seek help from the US Congress to protect his patent. In 1871, the factory burned down in the Great Chicago Fire, but McCormick rebuilt it and reopened it in 1873. In 1879, his brother Leander changed the company's name from Cyrus H. Mccormick and Brothers to McCormick Harvesting Machine Company. To the annoyance of Cyrus, Leander tried to emphasize the contributions of others in the family to the Reaper invention, especially their father. On January 26, 1858, 49-year-old Cyrus McCormick married Nancy Fowler. She was an orphan from New York who had graduated from the Troy Female Seminary and moved to Chicago. They had met 6 months earlier and shared views about business, religion, and Democratic Party policies. They had 7 children, many of which went on to be prominent members or marry into a lot of prominent families. I know one of the daughters married into the Rockefeller, I think it was the daughters, married into the Rockefeller family, and others married different congressmen. They were all well-heeled, I suppose, and from big families. So looking at some of the activism, so he was a lifelong Democrat. Before the American Civil War, McCormick had published editorials in his newspaper, the Chicago Times and Herald, calling for reconciliation between the national sections. His views, however, were unpopular in his adopted hometown. Although his invention helped feed Union troops, McCormick believed the Confederacy would not be defeated, and he and his wife travelled extensively in Europe during the war. McCormick unsuccessfully ran for Congress as a Democrat in Illinois, 2nd Congressional District, with a Peace Now platform in 1864 and was soundly defeated by Republican John Wentworth. He also proposed a peace plan to include a board of arbitration. After the war, McCormick helped found the Mississippi Valley Society with a mission to promote New Orleans and Mississippi ports for European trade. He also supported efforts to annex the Dominican Republic as a territory in the United States. Beginning in 1872, McCormick served a 4-year term on the Illinois Democratic Party Central Committee. McCormick later proposed an international mechanism to control food production and distribution. McCormick also became the principal benefactor and the trustee of what had been the Theological Seminary in the Northwest, which moved to Chicago's Lincoln Park neighborhood in 1859, a year in which he endowed 4 professorships. The institution was renamed the McCormick Theological Seminary in 1886 after his death, although it moved to Chicago's Hyde Park neighborhood in 1975 and began sharing facilities with the Lutheran School of Theology at Chicago. In 1869, McCormick donated $10,000 to help Dwight L. Moody start YMCA, and his son Cyrus J. would become the first chairman of the Moody Bible Institute. For the last 20 years of his life, McCormick was a benefactor, a member of the Board of Trustees at Washington and Lee Universities in his native Virginia. His brother Yander also donated funds to build an observatory at Mount Jefferson, operated by the University of Virginia and named the McCormick Observatory. During the last 4 years of his life, McCormick became an invalid. After a stroke paralyzed his legs, he was unable to walk during his final 2 years. He died at home in Chicago on May 13th, 1884, and was buried in Graceland Cemetery. I assume probably the same cemetery that Elvis Presley is buried in. He was survived by his widow, Nettie, who continued his Christian and charitable activities within the United States and abroad. Between 1890 and her death in 1923, donating $8 million, over $160 million in modern equivalents. And these all went to hospitals, disaster and relief agencies, churches, youth activities, and educational institutes, and becoming a leading benefactress of Presbyterian church activity in that area. Official leadership of the company passed to his eldest son, Cyrus Hall McCormick Jr., but his grandson, Cyrus Mccormick III, ran the company. 4 years later, the company's labour practices, paying workers some $9 per week, led to the Haymarket riots. Ultimately, Cyrus Jr. teamed with J.P. Morgan to create the International Harvester Corporation in 1902. After Cyrus Hall McCormick Jr., Harold Fowler McCormick ran the International Harvester Company. Various members of the McCormick family continued involvement with the corporation until Brooks McCormick died in 2006. So looking at some of the legacies and honours down throughout the years, the US Post Office issued a commemorative stamp honouring McCormick in 1940. Numerous prizes and medals were awarded McCormick for his reaper, which reduced human labour on farms while increasing productivity. Thus, it was contributed to the industrialisation of agriculture as well as migration of labour to cities in numerous wheat-growing counties. 36 by McCormick's death. The French government named McCormick an honorary Legion officer in 1851, and he was elected a corresponding member of the French Academy of Sciences in 1878, as having done more for the cause of agriculture than any other man. And that is their quote, not mine. I'm sure there are plenty of men out there who would be up there as having done the same, if not more, for the cause of agriculture. I know probably Harry Ferguson would probably, and indeed Henry Ford as well, would have a lot to say about that. And of course, Mr. John Deere too. Anyway, that's where we're leaving it tonight, this evening, this morning, whatever time you're looking at this. And as always, if you're still watching, please drop a comment into the comment section. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, because it really does help this channel. It costs you nothing. You will get notifications if you want notifications. And be sure not to miss. I'm still working towards the 100 video. We've got another couple of weeks to go, and I've had some brilliant suggestions. So thank you very much to everyone who has suggested. I'm kind of narrowed it down to about 3 different videos. So I'm kind of working on it at the minute. But yeah, keep the suggestions coming. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.